You wake up tired, not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, not the kind that a good meal or a walk outside or a weekend away can touch. Something deeper than that. You are tired of pretending everything is fine, tired of showing up for people who never quite show up for you, tired of working toward things that stopped feeling meaningful somewhere along the way, tired of conversations that never go deep enough, tired of a version of your life that looks okay from the outside and feels hollow from the inside. And the most exhausting part of all? You can't even fully explain it to anyone, because from where they're standing, your life looks fine, maybe even good. And so you carry this particular tiredness alone, quietly, privately, wondering if something is fundamentally wrong with you for feeling this way when you have no obvious reason to. Carl Jung would tell you something very different. He would tell you that this specific kind of tiredness, this bone-deep, soul-level exhaustion, is one of the most important signals the human psyche ever sends. Not a sign of weakness, not ingratitude, not depression in the clinical sense, though it can feel that way. A signal, precise and intentional, from the deepest part of who you are. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly what it's saying. Stay with me until the very end, because Jung's final message, the one that closes this video, is the one that changes everything. Jung spent decades sitting with people who described exactly what you're feeling right now. And what he found, consistently, across culture, across background, across every kind of life circumstance, was that this particular exhaustion almost never came from doing too much. It came from living too far from yourself. Jung called this psychic dissociation a gradual, often unconscious, drifting away from your authentic self toward a version of your life built primarily around external demands, what others needed from you, what society expected of you, what felt safe, responsible, acceptable. And he observed something remarkable about this process. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly, quietly, one small compromise at a time, one ignored inner signal at a time, one "I'll deal with that later" at a time, until one day you look up and realize somewhere in the middle of all this doing, all this performing, all this managing, you misplaced yourself. Here is the practice Jung would offer you right now. Take a piece of paper, or simply hold this question in your mind and write down 3 things you do regularly that feel genuinely like you. Not what you're good at, not what people praise you for, what feels like you. Then write down 3 things you do regularly that feel like a performance. Things you do because they're expected, because they're responsible, because saying no feels too complicated. Look at those 2 lists. The gap between them is not a character flaw. It is the distance between where you are and where your authentic self is waiting. And that gap, that is what is making you tired. Jung said something that I consider one of the most important sentences in the history of psychology. He said, "The most common form of despair is not being who you are." He called it the unlived life, the version of yourself, the choices, the path, the expression that has been quietly accumulating inside you while you lived a different version on the outside. The unlived life is not necessarily dramatic. It is not always a secret dream of being somewhere completely different. Often, it is subtler than that. It is the creative impulse you keep postponing, the honest conversation you keep avoiding, the boundary you keep not setting, the part of yourself you keep dimming so that the people around you remain comfortable. And Jung found that the unlived life does not simply wait patiently. It makes itself known through restlessness, through a creeping sense of meaninglessness, through the particular exhaustion of someone who is working very hard at living a life that doesn't quite fit? Here is the exact practice for this. Ask yourself this question and answer it as honestly as you can. If the version of me from 10 years ago could see my life right now, what would surprise them most? Not what would impress them. What would surprise them? Sometimes that answer reveals something we've been too close to see, a drift so gradual that we couldn't track it while it was happening, but suddenly becomes visible from a slight distance. Write that answer down, and then ask one more question. Is what surprises them something I'm at peace with? Or is it something I've simply accepted without examining it? Here is something most people try when they feel this kind of tired. They push through it. They add more discipline, more structure, more productivity, more effort. They tell themselves they just need to be stronger, more grateful, less sensitive. They find better ways to manage the exhaustion without addressing what is causing it. And for a while, this works. The momentum of sheer willpower carries them forward. But Jung observed with great consistency that this particular approach always reaches the same destination. A wall, not a gradual slowing, a wall, a point where the psyche simply refuses to continue in the same direction any further. Jung called this a psychological crisis, not a breakdown in the negative sense, but a breaking point with a specific purpose. The psyche, he believed, was always moving toward wholeness. And when the conscious mind refuses to cooperate with that movement, when it keeps pushing in the wrong direction through sheer force of will, the unconscious eventually stops allowing it. The exhaustion you feel is not your enemy. It is your psyche's refusal to keep walking away from yourself. Here is the practice Jung taught for this exact moment. Instead of asking, "How do I push through this?" ask a completely different question. Ask, "What is this tiredness protecting me from having to face?" Sit with that question. Don't rush to answer it. Jung said, the most important psychological answers rarely arrive immediately. They surface gradually when you create the conditions of honest stillness. Write down whatever comes to you, even if it feels incomplete, even if it's just a feeling with no words yet. That is the beginning of listening, really listening to what your own psyche has been trying to tell you. Jung believed that within every experience of deep exhaustion, within every season of feeling lost or hollow or disconnected, something is being carried that needs to be brought into the light. He did not see darkness as the enemy of growth. He saw it as the place where growth was being prepared. He wrote, "In the darkest points of experience, the seeds of the greatest transformation are hidden." This is not a platitude. Jung meant it precisely. He spent his career documenting case after case where the most significant psychological breakthroughs came not from periods of stability and contentment, but from periods exactly like what you are experiencing right now. The tiredness you feel is not emptiness. It is fullness that has not yet found its form. Here is the exact practice for this. Take your journal or simply a piece of paper and write at the top, "What have I been carrying that I haven't said out loud yet?" And then write, without editing, without organizing, without making it neat or coherent. Just write whatever surfaces for as long as it takes. Jung called this active imagination the practice of giving the unconscious a direct channel of expression without the conscious mind's usual gatekeeping. What surfaces in this practice is often surprising. Things you didn't know you knew. Feelings you didn't realize you were still carrying. Truths you've been circling without landing on. This is not journaling as performance. This is excavation. And what you unearth from it is the beginning of understanding what this season is actually about. Now I want to speak to you as directly as I possibly can. If you are tired of everything right now, tired in the way we have been describing, Jung would not tell you to push harder. He would not tell you to be more grateful. He would not tell you that something is wrong with you for feeling this way. He would tell you that you are in a threshold moment. A threshold is a specific concept Jung used to describe the space between who you have been and who you are becoming. It is not comfortable. It was never designed to be, but it is purposeful." Unquote. The tiredness you carry is the weight of what you are leaving behind, not your life, but the version of your life that no longer fits. The beliefs, the patterns, the accommodations, the performances, the distances from yourself you maintained for so long, they started to feel normal. Your psyche is not giving up. It is refusing to continue in the wrong direction. And here is what comes after the threshold. If you do the work of crossing it consciously, not the same life, fixed, something genuinely different, a life lived more from the inside out, a version of yourself more fully integrated shadow and light, wound and gift, past and possibility. Jung called this individuation, and he believed it was the true purpose of human psychological life. Here is the final practice, the one I want to leave with you today. Write down this sentence and complete it honestly. The version of me that is on the other side of this exhaustion is someone who... Let yourself finish that sentence without censorship, without practicality, without considering whether it is realistic or responsible. Just who is that person? What do they feel like? What have they let go of? What have they finally allowed themselves to become? That vision, however incomplete, however uncertain, is not fantasy. It is direction. And direction, Jung believed, is the most powerful thing a tired soul can have. Before you go, I want to ask you one thing. Not to share it publicly if you don't want to, but just right now, in this moment, complete this sentence somewhere, even just in your own mind. I am tired of. Name it, specifically, honestly, without softening it for anyone else's comfort. Because the moment you name it, really name it, is the moment it stops being a vague heaviness that follows you everywhere and starts being something you can actually work with. If you feel comfortable sharing it in the comments, I want to hear it. I read every single one, and I promise you, you will see how many other people are carrying something remarkably similar. You are not alone in this tiredness, not even close. And if this video gave you even one moment of feeling genuinely understood, please subscribe to The Inner Persona. Every week, we go deeper into the psychology of healing, transformation, and becoming more fully yourself through the wisdom of Carl Jung. Because being tired of everything is sometimes the most honest place a person can be. And from honest places, real things begin.